let's see. I would love to dive into sort of the customer side of this, but I think that starts a little bit with the product and what you're building. So can you just briefly give an introduction to what the product is and who it's for?
Yeah, definitely. So I work for Spendesk. We are an European startup. We launched the product in Paris at first in 2016. We have now offices in Berlin, London, and the US. The product itself, it's a SaaS product. So we are selling to SMBs, so company between 50 to 500 employees, mainly to the finance team. And the product is a platform that allow employee to access to the company money in a safe and controlled environment. So for example, as a marketing leader, when I need to pay for vendors, so for example, I'm working with a freelancer and I need to pay him by invoice, I can just upload it into Spendesk. When I need to ask for a new marketing budget for my Facebook campaign, I just go to Spendesk. When I'm inviting like a customer around a coffee, I just make the expense using Spendesk. So basically, Spendesk is a platform that allow employee to access to the company money. We grew a lot since 2016. I was one of the first employee of the company, so 4 people at that time, and now we are like 200 locally. And my new mission is now, after leading the marketing acquisition in France, is to launch Spendesk in the US. So like it's a start again, where no customer, no product, and no team. So we have to build everything from scratch in this lovely city that you know very well, as a San Francisco.
Yeah, there's so many things to dive off from that point. Just going a little bit more on the customer side, because you have users within a company that will use the product, and then there'll be value for them. And there's also the finance team that I think I heard you're selling to. And so when you think about marketing, is like the finance the focus, or is it the end user, or is it both, and some combination of that?
Yeah, I think we still didn't find the answer yet. So is it like, sometimes on the marketing strategy of 2019, you say, okay, let's focus on the end users. After you go back. So it was like a back and forth on the two, because it's very difficult to decide, because sometimes people are sign up on your product because it's a head of sales who want to implement an expense solution for his sales team. The day after, it's an accountant who have struggled. So it's a very challenging to take the decision. Now we focus the marketing content around the finance team, but we highlight to the finance team the benefits for the end users. Because at the end of the day, like a finance person will not use the product every day, or not using for travel, using for expense, using for paying vendors. So at the end, you need like to focus on the messaging, also to the like a business case for the different teams inside the company. So I will say at first, we decide to launch the company to help the employee, the pain point from the employee. And after discussing and interviewing like the different people, we focus on the finance people. And that's why we launch like communities, product, and different customer success stories. I want the finance people inside the finance team.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, this is the marketing role here is to enter into like a high touch, human driven sales process. And so that's it's an interesting point in terms of like the handoff point of like where you go from one to the other, and also how you reach people and what that first impression is like. And so if you could talk about a little bit how you think about a little bit more than just the raw numbers of like lead generation, but in terms of that first experience that people have like towards going into sales. How do you think about building that relationship to start?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we have been the first like I touch outbound driven model with a very low revenue per customers. So it was quite challenging, because when we launched the company, the way so we are launching a new product categories. Okay, so we are more like in the equipment market than a replacement market. So we have to educate the people that they need a better solution, because before Spendesk, they have no solution in place, and we need to equip them. So the main challenge at first was what is the best way to evangelize and communicate with these people? And the way we found originally was to contact them directly. So having a one-on-one conversation. That was what we did to acquire the first 300 customers, and more what we are today. So today we have like a mix between like inbound and outbound. So I will say like 50% of the customer acquired last month coming from the inbound and the content we produced in the last few years. And the second part, it's an outbound model where there is a sales team who outreach to dedicated people. In terms of how to use Spendesk as a finance person, so today you can, as an inbound, go directly to Spendesk. You can't access to the product yet. We'll see if it changes, but you have to discuss with a salesperson. So there is a one-to-one for two reasons. First, for us to ensure like we will evangelize what the product is, and also to ensure the people in front of us is qualified. Because we are like a high touch product, we need to ensure like we invest in the long term, and we don't want to acquire like bad fit customers. So we'll have like a 30-minute call or 15-minute call, depend of the use cases, with the people. Some of them will go in more like a real-time sales. So they will finish the setup and they will use the product and have an onboarding call. And second one will be more like moving to the sales part, where we'll be like open a sales with an account executive and whatever. And after that, the product is quite easy to set up. It's 30 minutes to set up like the accounting and the back office of the product, and 30 minutes to train the different users. So we can be really roll out in less than a week into a company compared to other like finance solution in place, from expense to accounting software. So that's the way to use and try a Spendesk product today.
So when it comes to your marketing, like what do you, because there's this handoff to sales. And so what are some of the things that you track and try to make sure that these different parts of the company work well together?
Yeah, so that was a clear challenges when we raise money. So now we are post Series B. So we raise 50 million with Index Ventures. And the main challenge since the first board meeting is, okay, you need to increase the number of inbound, and you need to like having more like a low touch strategy with the account. So we invest massively into the marketing team. So we create the marketing function, I will say 18 months from now. So it's quite recent compared to the history of the company. And the marketing invest in two different areas. The first one is the content. So today we produce a lot of high value content to be like ranking as in SEO in Google, but also to be like a source of trust for the users and the prospect. The second one is the branding. So this is maybe a difference between like European startup and American startup, but in Europe, like the software are not very well branded. You know, they show more the features than the company and the mission and the product positioning. So we invest massively into product marketing. We hire people from the US to build like a brand around the software, and to not only advertise like what are the functionalities or the feature of the product, but more why we are the company and why we stand for. And the last one is the community. So we invest massively into the community. So it's called CFO Connect. So it's a different entities than Spendesk. And we like create like a private network of finance leaders around the world. And we produce high qualified content or user driven content to this high qualified audiences as a finance person. To more like on the marketing, but more on the GTM or like or the strategy, on the acquisition strategy, we define as a 3P. So the first one is the product. The second one is the best practice. And the last one is the people. So we ensure like when someone face to us, he knows the product, he knows the best practice we'll bring to him, and he knows that we can connect him to the people. So main of the pillars on the acquisition or product driven, more as a company, are dedicated in these three categories, from product to people.
So that people side, you're talking about the community here.
Exactly. So it can be sometimes when a customer wants to learn more about like how to open a subsidiary in Germany, or to be connected with a lawyer, to be connected with another SaaS vendors, or to be connected with peers. Because today in the organization, like finance people are quite isolated. They are like alone, because they are the boss of the finance section with a small team, and they don't really network or have a way to network like us as a marketing or product person. So this is our mission, like to give them a network.
Cool. So for this community, what is the actual interaction? So I can imagine you have a blog post, you have a platform where you can have specific content for that audience. And then how do people connect? Is it like chat, Slack room, like a bulletin board? So what's the format there?
Yeah, so there is two ways to connect. There is like online and offline. So before the COVID, we organized like offline event with like private dinner with CFOs from the same industry. Let's say like the e-learning startups CFOs in Paris, and we organize a private dinner. We have more like big event, I will say, with 200, 300 people, but it's more like a return of experiment of, like, for example, the CFO of Airbnb, who explain how it's going to grow insanely in the past few years. So that's more like the physical event, what we have. And we have also built the online event before. So from webinars dedicated on very narrow topic, more like workshop webinars. And we create also like a Slack network. So today we have a Slack channel with 2,500 people across the different. 50% of the, I would say 40% of the members are Spendesk users, but most of them are not Spendesk users. They are like finance leader who match the criteria and who are interested to connect. And they have like different activity on Slack to make it dynamics, because we all experience in the past having part of a community with no engagement, no reaction. So we need to be very proactive to make the community engage. Otherwise, it can disappear in very fast.
This is awesome. And so the thing about community is authenticity. And so allowing people to engage with each other is easy authenticity because they have no alternative goals. Many do, but depends on the context. But when you invest in a marketing channel, you also need to have some kind of performance. And so you're investing in all of this, not just, I mean, it's nice, it feels good, but it's also, it's a channel. And so by engaging the right audience in an authentic way, you have now the ability to speak to the people that you want to have as customers directly. But how do you balance that in terms of the authenticity of what you provide there versus just like a fat banner to click to sign up for a Spendesk, like just to get directly in your funnel and start selling to everybody?
So I think it's the same for when you launch a startup or where you try a new channel. At first, you don't want to see if the channel will be like ROI. You just want to see if the channel is working or not. So that was the strategy when we launched. We said, okay, let's organize the event. And like little story, but it was only for users, for Spendesk users at the beginning. We said, okay, let's open our office. Let's bring some people and make a talk to our users. And after we found that like quite successful, people referring others, they are coming to the event with 2 people and not only 1. So at first, my recommendation is just prove that the event, the channel is working, yes or not. And after when it's working, it's time to monetize and all the stuff. But the 2 challenges is like sometimes people don't want to experiment or launch a new channel because they say, I will not get any ROI. But it's like launching Facebook at first or some other platform. You need first to have the platform, the engagement, and all the different topics before having the revenue. Now, we are like 2 years after launching this community with 2,000 members across the world. There is a different way as a marketer to make it ROI. The first one, it's help us to build audiences. So I will say like retargeting. So today we have a very qualified audiences of finance leaders in the world that we can use for marketing purpose and retargeting campaign. So we leverage this audience to target people to do like similar audiences. So that's one way to convert. The second one, it's on the opposite. It's not CFO Connect that will generate revenue to Spendesk. It's the opposite. So today, Spendesk use CFO Connect to generate revenue. An example, today we use as a salesperson, the CFO Connect argument to outreach the people. So a salesperson from Spendesk will contact people and say, hey, I want to invite you to an event. So they will use the different elements from CFO Connect to generate more ROI. So this is the first part. And more in the final part, when the community will be big enough and very engaging, it's how can we transform CFO Connect champions into Spendesk users.
Switching gears a bit, there's a question from the audience here of related to your product in terms of people already have a current way of doing things and there's a switch over to something else. And so when you think about talking to your customers, how do you convince people that have a need for this or a need to change from what they currently do?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we are not a replacement solution. So we are not like an expense solution. So we are not competing against Expensify or Concur. We are more an equipment. It means today a company use between 6 to 9 different tools to manage the spend. So Expensify or expense solution is one, corporate card is the second one. You use one for your vendors. You use Excel for reconciliation. You also use emails to make the approval. So we are just addressing the different pain points they have today, and we sell the products that will cover the pain point. So the main challenges we have is to how we can evangelize these people who are not looking for spend management product, but maybe are only looking for an expense solution, to take them from, okay, you need an expense solution today, but this is not the problem we are looking for. Today, you have a bigger problem about how do you use corporate card and expense. How do you reconcile? How do you put a spending policy process into your company? So the main challenge as a marketing is to make acquisition on what people are looking for, expense solution, and after onboard them into like more like a funnel and a marketing strategy to educate them to say, you are not looking for only an expense solution. Because today, I agree with JS, we can't compete when a company are using an expense solution, because when you use it, it's working, the people are using every day. You need to be 10 times better to replace an existing solution in place. And to be 2 times better is not enough. You need like very...
Okay, interesting. Just looking at some of our notes here that we put together beforehand. I think you've done some interesting things with referrals over LinkedIn. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and so how that experience worked.
Yeah, so I think it can be the same, because I know you launched like a referral company also, so you have some insight to share with us.
I've seen every combination, so I love it. Yeah.
Okay. So the main challenge for the referral, I think everyone will be agreed that it's a strong channel and it will work, but nobody invests on it because we all launched a test maybe early on the company. It was not very successful, so we prioritize other channel. So this is my point of view of the referral. So we try to have like a cycle to say, okay, every 6 months we try to launch a new referral program to ensure we'll solve it and make it work one day. The good one we launched. So it was like we launched a free product. So we launched Collect by Spendesk we take one feature of Spendesk and we decide to make it like a product to use it for free. Like the old marketing strategy of using samples, for perfume.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a perfume shop, you have a little perfume, and maybe for the next Christmas you will buy one. So this was the idea, and it was like a invite-only product. So when people try to sign up, they say, okay, you are on the queue. So like Viral Loop, like most of the solution today you use. The difference, what we did, we make it more personal. How? By every time someone sign up on LinkedIn, we have a robot, a little script that will go check the LinkedIn profile of the person. And inside the LinkedIn profile, they will analyze the different people that will be relevant. And so you start, you put your emails on the sign up, you answer to a few questions. At the end of the sign up, you have one page to say, hey, you're on the waiting list. You are like 90 out of 200. You want to be on board next week, just invite your friends. And on this page, you can see the face, the LinkedIn profile, so the LinkedIn picture, the name and the job title of some of your recommendation. There is 2 ways. There is your personal connection, your share connection, and also, the recommendation from LinkedIn on the right. And you have these people just in the middle of the screen, and you just have one click. So when you click, an email is sent automatically to these people. So this was a successful one. Why it was successful? Because every new sign up invite between 2 and 3, so 2.6 to be honest, other users. So meaning every new acquisition lead bringing 2 other leads. So that was very powerful. And we didn't build this solution at first. We iterate a little bit, and we found that having no limit between like the click and the invite was very powerful. So you just have to click and the people will be invited. And the second one is to don't say like invite your friends, put the email address. You say, we want to invite these friends. Are you happy to invite this friend? And the people just have one click for that.
Yeah.
It can be interesting. So you have been at Lyft with a crazy company and very good also on the referral. What was the strategy you have seen at Lyft at the time?
So there's a huge difference between, and you're hitting on this point really well, which is the recognition versus recall. And so if you say, hey, could you please think of a friend that might want to use this product? It's like, oh, but I have hundreds of friends. I don't know. Then if you put in front of them almost anyone, there'll be a decision, like there'll be a recognition of the first degree connection that says, I know who this person is and I know if they're appropriate or not. And so that kind of recommendation was a big basis of what we were doing at YesGraph. And so then the question is how you're able to facilitate actually that invite. And so what we built at YesGraph that we then integrated into Lyft was essentially a mobile address book version of this that says, of the people that are in your contacts, here are the folks that you want to invite. What you were doing at YesGraph, the startup that Lyft acquired, was a general version of this that we can tune it to go to different recommendations. But when it came to Lyft, because you have a difference between the drivers and the passengers, because both of them go through this referral flow, but they're different. So if you are a driver, it's your job. And so you're trying to find, if you're going to refer someone to be a driver, then you want to find someone who wants that job. And so if you have your retired grandmother, that's not a very good candidate. In terms of the drivers, there's a huge number of them. Maybe it's some moms that have some extra time. Maybe it's somebody that's already driving for Uber and wants to try Lyft. Maybe it's a student that has like a part-time ability to do it. And so there's a lot of different kinds of people that do it. Whereas people that take rideshare, because it's more expensive than the bus, tend to be, you want to invite friends that have like the business reason to do it, like they're traveling for work. And so you can see how like there's actually very different kinds of people you want to target. But that same kind of experience where you just put the person in front of them and say, do you want to send this person an invite, is hugely impactful, because it's that basic customization. But the problem is you have to do some kind of quality filter. So you did that through LinkedIn, where all the people that are connected to them are people that they know and they're professionally connected with. So they have some kind of relationship. It might be that they went to school together. It might be that they're coworkers at a past company. But there's that first degree connection of trust. On your mobile address book, it's a little bit more challenging because maybe you have some phone provider in there. So like AT&T, and so it's like, do you want to invite your, phone operator to use Lyft? It's like, doesn't make any sense. So you have to have some kind of quality filter on top of that. I'm actually curious now, you described a little bit about what you did with LinkedIn, and I'm just a referral nerd, so I want to understand a little bit more, if we could indulge me in this. So when you say a bot looks into, there's two questions I have: where you get the data, and then how you send the message. And so in terms of where the data comes from, somebody is offing their LinkedIn account, and then you can understand who they know, or are you doing something more creative, I'll call it?
I will say creative. I think creative is a nice argument. LinkedIn don't really have an API, and you can't access using the Google LinkedIn. So we have to find a different way. So basically, the user put an email. Okay, so you sign up, you put your emails. From the emails, you go to the LinkedIn page. You can use some API like Clearbit, but you can also use, you can cut the email address and search on Google, and you can find a way from an email to go to a LinkedIn profile. So that's the first step. After that, on the LinkedIn page, you have different ways. So there is people where the connection are open because they are connected to someone from Spendesk, or some are more open than others. So this is the first people. We will analyze all the connection and filter on some criteria, as you mentioned, from the same company, from the same school, from past companies, or from interesting job titles that we know, like marketing people from these functionalities was huge fan of collecting the different invoices. So, and the last part, when we can't find anyone, we just copy paste the recommendation from LinkedIn. So if you go to anyone LinkedIn profile, you have 6 recommendations on the right. So when we can't access to the connection, we just take the one recommended by LinkedIn and we inject into the page after the sign up page. What was challenging, it takes some time. It takes between 3 seconds to 6 seconds. So you have to be very fast in your onboarding to make it longer enough to collect the data and put it into the customers. Because if the people just skip the question on the sign up form, they arrive to a page where it's less powerful. So that was the challenges. So we ask some question: what tools are you using? How many people? So we just ask enough question to not make them drop down the sign up, but to have enough time to scrape the data and inject into the sign up page.
And so when you have one of their connections on LinkedIn that they want to invite to use this tool, what is the channel? Because you don't have their email, I don't think. And so is it like a LinkedIn-based message or?
Yeah, exactly. So you can, from an email, get a LinkedIn profile, but you can do on the opposite using services like Get Email, Enter.io. From a LinkedIn profile, you can get an email address. So we do the same. So we have the LinkedIn profile, we get the address, and we send an automatic email using Intercom in that case. We send, hey, so Ivan just sign up on Collect for that reason. And we show you want to collect the invoice from Lyft, from Facebook ads, from Uber. And he want to invite you because he think it's relevant for you. What tools do you need? And the people can just click on the different email and go back to the sign up, whatever. So that was the use case. It was very powerful. It's still live. So if you want to test it, you can go to collect.spendesk.com. I will put on the chat, and you can experience. It's not 100% working because some people don't have LinkedIn, some people use an email, but I will say I think 76% of people have recommendation based on LinkedIn. So like 7 out of 10.
This is really an interesting flow. It's very, very nice work. And so you talked about some vendors. You have some vendors that you've used here as far as mapping, but in terms of it sounds like you probably had some custom engineering here as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, this highlights how a little bit of engineering can go a long way on a marketing team, which is the basis of this revolution in growth, where if it's just sending your message out through normal channels, there's scalability, the customization, all of these things can be far better if you just put some engineering behind it.
So that is two ways. The first one, as you mentioned, so today, most of the tools, you don't need to be an engineer to build a nice flow like that. You can use, for example, Viral Loop in that case. We can build some similar stuff. So today you need to use the tools, put at the highest level. So we use Viral Loop in the past. We know the limitation. We know what was working, what was not working. And when you reach that step, it's the second step to say, okay, how to make it more custom to us and more custom to our users. And that when you're engineers, because I saw the same revolution as you. So now there is more engineer in the marketing team. But the problem today is they innovate before testing and finding the limit of a channel or a solution. So my recommendation is you use the tools at first, try it. You have some understanding if it's working, if it's not working. Find the limit and replace this limit by custom code, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And so there's also the need to this customization. I just want to talk a little bit more about that. So in terms of like making unique experiences for your users, if you could tell some of the stories here of what you've been able to accomplish.
Yes, the main challenge we had, when a salesperson sent an email, the response rate was way higher than when we send marketing email. Why? Because the sales team takes some time, analyze the different profile, take some information, and build a very nice email. I will say very personalized. So today, this is the best example when okay, personalization is important because when a salesperson takes 10 minutes of his time to send an email, the result is here. When we build like a nice content, nice audiences, and we launch the email, the result is not there. So the difference was between 12 to 15% when the salespeople send an email. In marketing, it was more like 1 or 2% of response rate. So the difference was very significant and not scalable in that case. This channel was not scalable. So the different way we say, how can we be better than sales or be more powerful than sales? So the main experiment we launched for that, it was how can we bring more customization into the emails, okay? And the main challenge, because when you write an email, there is different how to the emails to be open, how the emails to be clicked, how the email to be responded. We say, okay, it's difficult to solve the response rate of an email. So we will focus on the click, okay? Because when the user click, after we have another chance to convert them on a landing page. But without this click, we lose a lot of people. So we focus the experiment to say, how can we bring more click into the different marketing emails? And the way we use was based on the GIF, so today we received some GIF and email is more attractive.
It's pronounced GIF, just quick correction, it's GIF.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a big debate about that and I love participating in it.
Yeah. And when you click on, so there is good and bad aspect of the GIF. I'm not talking about some cartoon or GIF, funny GIF at the end to say, hey, reply me, please. It was more, how can we show with our product the value to the customers directly into the emails? I will say what we found the same concept. So we built the product, so a Spendesk product that shows the value. So when an employee requests the money and as a finance person, you can approve or deny. And so we take one employee data, for example, the marketing leaders of the company. We create like a new request. Hey, I need more for my marketing budget with the different criteria. And we show the interface as the finance people with the face and the image of the CFO. And that was directly into the GIF. And the GIF stopped just before like the end. And so if you want to see the end, you naturally click on the GIF. And after you go to a custom landing page. But that part, having like a personalized GIF was not very used at the moment. And so they saw like one of the employees that request a credit card every day. They saw an interface who looked nice. They saw they have a button to accept or deny the request. And so they just click on it and they're going to a landing page. And we changed that. So we increased by 46% the number of clicks on the GIF. We have different issue on the deliverability, and there is also bad aspect of using GIF. But when people receive the email, open the email, they click 40% more than without the GIF inside.
Just so I understand, because again, this sounds pretty awesome and almost certainly require tools or engineering to get it done. You would get the LinkedIn profile pic of like the either the user you're sending it to or their finance person, embed that into, like, you'd compose a GIF and include that in the email that also showed your product.
Exactly.
So, that's
exactly.
Great.
So this can be done, to be honest, without any code. So today there is like a no code solution where you can build images or different stuff. Intercom did it a lot as well. So some companies are start using it, but that was the concept. So we have a template, a GIF template, and we put some criteria. So the company logo, the face of the marketing person, the face of the CFO, and we replace the name. And that was generated and embedded into an email. So an engineer worked for that. So engineer like this type of project, to be honest. So they work faster than building a feature on your product. But it has been very powerful for that. And now it's just a template. So the sales or the marketing, so in HubSpot or in Salesloft, the different emailing tools we use, you can just select the GIF request and automatically take some params from Salesforce or from HubSpot and generate the email for you. So there is no action or maintenance, and we can send that to thousands of people in one day if you want. So that was very powerful to same idea. So make the email different. The main question we try to do is say, okay, every marketing email that go out our Gmail account have to be unique. If two people open the email and see the same result, the response rate will be lower. So that was the idea, and the main North Star we follow is say, how can we make all emails, and not only the first name, at the beginning of the email, how can we make all the emails unique that talk to people?
Yeah, that kind of customization at scale is incredible because, it goes back to the LinkedIn idea as well. There's something like you can't avoid seeing faces and being compelled, to the point where like kids and adults alike, they'll see a building or a car and they see a face in it. And so we're just hardwired from birth to really care about faces. And so in this case, it's people they know and that are relevant for the product that's being used in a workflow through the product to see it. And so that's really impressive. That's pretty awesome. And it's also interesting highlighting the how it isn't just a matter of using software to hit something very many times. It's actually customized for each person that uses it. And that to me is the trade-off when we've been talking about, say in the context of advertising, where Google knows so much about you. It's like, yes, but then it can customize everything just to me. And so it knows what I like. And then, so would you rather have things that are generic or custom? And if they're custom, that means they're custom for every individual to be what that person wants, which is, it's not a perfect world, but it's better than it's better for everybody. It's in terms of finding the connections that are meaningful to people.
Right, it's scary sometimes. As a marketer, we know maybe more than the other people in the world how it's working behind that, and there is a good documentary showing that. But as a consumer, it's better to be recommended for what you like than sometimes when you just open the TV and you watch a TV again and you just have advertising that you will never buy from the familial car or different product, and you just are wasting your time and the advertiser just wasting the money. And that's the differentiation with the personalization, because I'm ready to pay a lot of money to ensure these people will see my ads, and that's the differentiation. And customization, it's a better experience on the consumer level.
Yeah. So in our discussion earlier, you talked a little bit, we have it in our notes here, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about your customers are your copywriters. So this idea of your customers pitching you the product. Can you talk a little bit more about that experience? Because I can imagine the way it might work with, you talked in a sales conversation to say, just can you reflect back what you think the value of the product is? But
so,
exactly, how does that work? Like, yeah.
This is the idea. So we are not a finance person. When we launched the company, I was like marketing. The founders was engineers. So we never experienced the problems that the finance team is working. And I think most of the company, you are not solving a problem you experienced in the past as a marketing person. So the main challenge we have is how to talk to these people that I don't know, how to talk about the problems that I never experienced. And so the way we found is like just asking questions. So you mentioned like our user was a copywriter. This is true. So at every discovery call, so when we have someone at from a sign up to an outbound, when there is someone on the phone, all the calls are recorded and we ask for that to the users. We ask at the end, can you present me Spendesk? How you will explain you to another like accountant, to another CFO. And so I think we onboard like 300 customers a month now before COVID, I would say. So can you imagine we have between like 300 of, I would say like 200 people just pitching the product with their own word, with the own language in different language. So this is the first powerful tools. We start since day one and we have like all this recording of people pitching and they pitch the value they understand of the product. So this is very powerful. The second one, we invite every week, I will say someone in the office, users, they love that, our CFO. We invite someone for a lunch with the marketing team, with the different people. And we show sometimes a deck, a sales deck. We show a new landing page and we ask them for feedback. And we did that. And one day, like to be honest, the guy spent 2 hours with them and just changed all the pitch deck we are using. He said, you need to show that, you show that. And thanks to him, he's now advisor of the company. But thanks to him, we have now a first page of the pitch deck who is like very powerful and we talk to one audiences. And we use that for landing page. So we ask to the people if they have an opinion. So we just leverage a lot our users since day one to help us to put like a words behind the product, the problems they are facing every day.
That's fascinating. And can you use these recordings? Like if you were to have a YouTube channel, can you like?
So
is the content?
We mentioned we use it for internally when we ask for the people. Because most of them don't buy the product at the end. It's a demonstration and maybe they will not buy Spendesk one day, but it helps us. So we use it for internal internal usage. And we do also like external when the video you can check on Spendesk.com where there is like face of people and just pitching the product. And this is one of the best exercise to do from early stage to post Series B, C is just to explain why you will use this product. And why are you paying this product every day? And that's a concept from Amazon reviews, from Apple Store reviews, from whatever, but you can bring that to B2B or B2C and just leverage the user knowledge. And I learned a lot of words from that. They teach me a new word. And after you just type on Google and say, okay, there is a SEO opportunity or SEM opportunity, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many interesting angles on this. One of them is just to have variability in how you talk about things, which is valuable for a bunch of reasons. Another is, well, I think a lot of people, especially in marketing, focusing on like hitting those numbers and do things that are only high scale. And in this case, you have the ability, it's not just scale, it's signal. And so if you have the ability to get like a qualitative sample that is very high signal of somebody that is totally in your target audience and has the problems you care about and can articulate it in their own words, I mean, this is the kind of the point of this meeting, but it's like it humanizes it in a very, very real way to everyone on your team. So I really like that strategy.
I think so. You launched company in the past. I was early stage employee, so we face the customer since day one. So we know that at the end there is a user behind. There is someone who can talk, we can ask questions, who can decide to buy, to not buy. But more the company grow and the marketing scale. So, but the marketing people are not customer facing anymore. So they are just, as you mentioned, so there is a strong pressure on the marketing team because the revenue and the growth in the startup ecosystem is very important. So, and the marketing team is focusing on hitting the numbers than meeting the customers, meeting the prospect, meeting the last deal. So the main challenge as the marketing leaders is to go back to the customers. So go back to the trench with the salespeople, interview, ask to the product manager to bring you to the call, what we have in place, for example, in the Spendesk, every time there is someone who say, I will not buy the product, we say, okay, can you repeat that in front of marketing person or my CEO? So my sales team, today we are losing 60% of the deals. We are winning 40%, but we are losing 60% of the times for different reasons. And we ask to these people, okay, so I will not change your opinion because I know you will not buy it. Can we just schedule a call with my CEO or my CMO to explain what you will explain to me right now? And they always accept. And for most of them, we build a relationship with them. And you bring like your marketing CMO in front of like a successful company that are not, they will never buy the product, and they explain why. Because the other problem of the marketing today, it's we only talk with people that are evangelized, they are paying the product, and they know the mission. That are not the most powerful to talk. You need to talk with people who don't understand your product. You need to talk to people who don't want to buy your product. And you need to talk to people that don't understand why you launched the company. Because this is the one that need to be marketized, that need to be evangelized. If you talk to people that will buy your product, this is not important.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to crossing the chasm. So it's this very famous strategy in terms of the first people that use it are the true believers, the innovators, the early adopters, and they'll be your evangelists. They'll believe everything you believe. They might join your company. Like that's how much they believe.
Definitely.
Going and are doing this to scale. And if you want to scale it, you need to have everyone that's not using it, which the vast majority of people is they've never heard of you. They don't know they might have a solution they like. They might not have the problem. Like you're competing with like a spreadsheet, like or some process internally to a company, depending on the product is. And so understanding who you're not serving today is how you bridge that gap to know like who you need to go to. And so, marketing to, Facebook when it's just on college campuses, when everyone uses it right away versus why your mom starts using Facebook. And that's also like a generation back of consumer products, but it's true for every category of product and every sector.
It's a question of mindset. I think today when you build a landing page, you don't need to be satisfied because 10% of people convert. You need to ask you the question, why the 90% others don't want to convert? This is the opinion and the philosophy of Facebook and most of the company today, but you need to learn why people convert, but the main goal is to understand why the others didn't convert and to take a hypothesis. So that's one of the learning, as you mentioned, is today, how can we be better? And this, how to be scaled, it's to identify these people who don't understand and don't want to buy the product.